Good morning. Welcome to another edition of Beyond the Pulpit. This morning I want to touch on something that we find in the Scriptures, and it's really, a lot of times it's not explained as it should be. I had a couple people ask me about it. When we read about Jesus overturning the tables in the temple, we are looking at a moment that surprises a lot of people. We often picture Jesus as gentle and calm, and he is, but in this moment, he's a little forceful, and he's direct, and he's very deeply passionate about what he's doing. You'll find this event in all the Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, and I advise you to look it up and read it. Let's walk through what he was teaching us, especially about the respect for the sanctuary, in plain, clear language. Jesus walked into the temple and found people buying and selling animals and exchanging money and treating the place like a marketplace. These things were completely unrelated to work. These things were completely unrelated to worship. People needed animals for sacrifice, but it had become corrupt. Instead of helping people worship, they were taking advantage of them. Jesus said, "My house shall be called a house of prayer, but you have made it into a den of thieves." That tells us something simple but very powerful. The sanctuary is not about profit. It's about presence. It's not a place to promote ourselves, our agendas, or take advantage of others. It's a place set apart for God. Jesus didn't ignore what was happening. He didn't say, well, at least people showed up. He acted on it. He overturned tables. He drove people out. That shows us something very, very important. God takes seriously how we treat what belongs to Him. The temple mattered because it represented God's presence among His people. Today, while we know God doesn't live in buildings the same way, the place where believers gather still matters. It's not just another building. It's a place where people meet with God. The Word is preached and lives are changed. So how we act in that space matters. Imagine trying to pray in that temple scene, animals making noise, people arguing over prices, and money clanking everywhere. It was chaotic, I'm sure. Jesus cleared it out because worship requires focus. Anything that distracts from God becomes a problem, even if it seems harmless at first. In today's terms, this might look like this. Treating church casually or carelessly, being more focused on socializing than worship, and letting distractions take over our attention. Jesus was saying, this place is for connecting with God. Don't crowd that out. The heart behind the action matters most, and this is the key. Jesus wasn't just upset about tables and money. He was upset about what was happening in people's hearts. They had turned something holy into something selfish. So the real lesson here is not just respect the building, it's a whole lot deeper. We need to respect the purpose. We can sit quietly in a church building and still not honor God if your heart is far from Him. But when your heart is right, your actions will follow. We will be very reverent. We'll pay attention. And we'll have sincerity to what we're talking about. The sanctuary is meant to welcome people, not to burden them. In the temple, people were being taken advantage of, especially those coming from far away who had no choice but to buy animals there. Jesus called it a den of thieves. That tells us the house of God should never be a place where people feel used. It should be a place where they feel welcomed. Church should not feel like pressure, manipulation, judgment without grace. It should feel like prayer, truth, and grace. Jesus wasn't just cleansing a space, He was restoring its purpose. This moment also teaches something we don't always talk about. Jesus was angry, but it was the right kind of anger, not selfish anger, not out of control anger. Righteous anger is when something that dishonors God and harms people bothers you deeply. He cared enough to act. Sometimes we get more upset about small inconveniences than we do about things that dishonor God. Jesus reminds us there are things worth standing up against. The Bible teaches that believers are now the temple of the Holy Spirit. You look in 1 Corinthians 6:19 to read that verse. So this lesson doesn't just apply to a church building, it applies to us personally. That raises the question, is there anything in my life that doesn't belong in God's temple? Just like Jesus cleared out the physical temple, He also wants to clean out anything in us that distracts from God, that dishonors Him, and that takes His space. That might be sin we've allowed to stay, attitudes that don't reflect Christ, priorities that push God to the side. What are our takeaways this morning from this lesson? If you boil it all down, here's what Jesus was teaching. The sanctuary is sacred because of its purpose. Worship should be focused and sincere. God cares about both the place and the heart, and nothing should replace or distract from God. We should treat both the church and our lives with reverence. Jesus didn't just cleanse the temple just to make a scene. He did it because He loves what the place is supposed to be. And that same truth applies here at Bloomingdale Baptist as well as other churches today. He still cares about His house, His people, and our hearts. And if something's out of place, He doesn't just ignore it. He lovingly confronts it because He wants what is sacred to stay sacred. I hope you enjoyed this little teaching on Jesus' lesson and driving out the things in the sanctuary that day. It still applies to us here in Kingsport, Bloomingdale Baptist, and other churches around. This place I'm speaking from is our sanctuary. This is where God comes. This is God's holy place, and it should be treated as that. Hope you have a great day. And as always, we look forward to seeing you here at Bloomingdale Baptist Church.